Good morning, everyone. I wish I could say that I stand here today to tell you an amazing survivor story, but unfortunately that's not the case. I stand here not because I love public speaking, and definitely not for the nervousness that I feel, and it's obvious. I stand here because I made a promise that I would. I stand here today as the voice of my sister, Jennifer Esposito, who would have been here making these kinds of speeches today if she had things her way, because she was the brave one, and an inspiration to me and so many that I know. But I'm here today to tell you a true story of the battle of leukemia. It all started 4th of July, almost 2 years ago now, when we realized that Jenn, who was 27 at the time, had a terrible cough that hadn't gone away in months. Assuming that it was her asthma acting up, she went to a pulmonologist and began antibiotics and asthma treatments that did nothing. When the doctor finally called with the blood test results, it shocked us all. Jenn had leukemia, specifically acute lymphoblastic leukemia with Philadelphia syndrome. Talk about your world being flipped upside down, going from what you thought was asthma to being diagnosed with cancer in your 20s. Jenn was immediately admitted to the hospital for the first of many month-long rounds of chemo. And the rest of my family, which consists of mom and dad, myself, and younger sister Lauren, had to immediately give ourselves a crash course of education in what leukemia is and what to expect in the months ahead. We will be forever grateful to the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society for being there for us and providing the knowledge of what we were up against. I say we, because Jenn might have been the one laying in the bed doing all the work, but as we said every day, she was not alone. We were all her team. Going on this idea of a team, I created a Facebook page called Jenn's Team, and we were able to inform all of our family and friends at once about what was going on in our world, which now had no free time to update everyone individually. We were also able to promote blood drives that the hospital was hosting for her, since she was using so much of their resources. The response was overwhelming to us all, and Jenn received such amazing support from the over 1,000 followers that she was motivated to keep up the fight. As the rounds of chemo went on, so did the search for a bone marrow donor. As luck would have it, Lauren and I were tested, but were not a match in this situation. Our miracle was answered in September when it was found that Jenn had a perfect match on the registry and that he was willing to help. We were overtaken with joy because a perfect match meant Jenn was saved. So, Jenn was admitted to the week of Thanksgiving 2009 to Memorial Sloan Kettering to start the awful preparation for a transplant. The intense radiation and chemo made Jenn into a clean slate, and she received her bone marrow transplant on December 2nd. And then we waited in the hospital in a bubble, in masks and robes and gloves, through the holidays and until New Year's Eve, which was Jenn's 28th birthday, when the doctors said that she was stable enough to continue her recuperation at home. 2010 was going to start off the year we hoped for, Jenn finally being home after half a year spent in the hospital, and what we were all looking forward to the most, that things would be on the road back to normal. But the joy was short-lived, and within the first few weeks of the new year, we somehow learned that the leukemia came back, and Jenn had to go back to the hospital and start everything over from square one. A bone marrow transplant wouldn't work the second time if it didn't the first, and so they treated the leukemia with chemo to buy her time, while they tried to get her into a clinical trial that she qualified for. All of this took its toll, and with the inevitable complications came pneumonia that would take months to get rid of. But none of this stopped Jenn's positive outlook, and between naps and medicines, Jenn made plans for the future. She planned road trips across the country, European adventures, and a trip to see the big mouse in Disney World. But most importantly, Jenn planned to celebrate being leukemia-free. She made Jenn's Team official by creating a true team for the Light the Night walk. The doctors gave her continued hope that she would be in remission by summer. And since the walk was in October, and so far away at that point, Light the Night would be her coming out party, walking across the Brooklyn Bridge and leaving the nightmare of leukemia behind her. But the scary part about leukemia is that it feels like it has a mind of its own. Over all these months, it seemed to somehow learn to fight against the chemo, and it soon all became too much for her body. Jenn suddenly went jaundice, and then into complete liver failure. And the doctors decided that there was nothing more that they can do, and stopped all treatments to let her go. We sat together for 3 weeks, all of us, including Jenn, knowing what was happening and not being able to do anything about it. In the last days, she slipped into a coma, and she died just after midnight on June 12, 2010, just a year ago now. In the days that followed, while figuring out how to deal with this new reality of Jenn not being here, I decided to make good on a promise that I made to Jenn and called Light the Night. When Jenn talked about the walk and her concerns about not being able to physically complete it, I always promised her that I'd carry the whole way across the bridge if need be for her to finish. But in her final weeks, she made me promise that I would still complete the walk and finish no matter what happened. And so my mission became to raise $11,000 to honor her 11-month battle. In the end, we proudly raised more than $30,000 in her memory. And as promised, on the rainiest day in 2010, 60 members of Jenn's team walked with gold balloons and pictures of Jenn in hand, and as we carried her across the Brooklyn Bridge, fulfilling her final wish. My promise to Jenn may be complete, but unfortunately the reasons for participating in Light the Night are not. Even with the advances in treatment for patients through the years, stories like Jenn's are not unique. In this 1 year alone since Jenn's death, over 54,000 people have died because of blood cancers like leukemia, lymphoma, and melanoma. Every single day, 148 families lose their Jenn, their fighter, a parent, a child, a brother or sister. Let Jenn's story be a reminder that being a part of this does matter, because every patient, whether a survivor or lost to the battle, suffers through the same struggles, setbacks, and heartaches. But hopefully through fundraising of your efforts and mine, we can create the day that people won't suffer through the trials of blood cancers, and families won't be left with the questions of why us. So please remember, walk like your life depends on it, walk because someone's life does. And in the wonderful words of my feisty sister Jennifer, let's say screw you to leukemia. Thank you.